Welcome again, everyone. So it's noon. I think we're going to get started. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Monique Roy, and I'm faculty in the graduate programs in education at UNE Online. But I also wear many hats in the college. I am the assistant program manager for graduate programs in education online. I'm the certification officer, and I also facilitate our new faculty orientation. So new instructors will go through a course to prepare them to teach our students. So I teach adults in so many different ways in my job, and as you probably do or aspire to do, and that's why you're interested in this course. Today I'll be providing an overview of the Adult Learning Theory course, sharing why it's valuable, who it's valuable for, and what you'll get out of the course, basically our objectives and what we would hope to accomplish as you're in the course. We do have to start with some housekeeping, so here's some things I need to mention as we get going. The webinar will be recorded. By continuing on with this webinar, you are accepting that you will be part of a recorded process in which to be used for future students. There will be a Q&A session held at the end of the webinar, and I really want to highlight this because I'm going to go through some slides with some information and do a lot of talking, but what I really want to do is engage with you and hear from you at the end. So one of the things that you can be doing as we go along is to put your questions in the chat box. There is a chat feature, and any questions, concerns, comments that you have as we go, and then we're going to go back to that at the end and really just have a conversation. So I'm excited about that engagement part. So some overviews about the course. It's a 3 graduate credit course. It's 8 weeks long. There's a simple application process, 100% online. And you'll see it says no workplace requirement, which means that you don't have to actively be working with adults in this way right now. You could aspire to be doing that. So, you know, that's part of what this course is going to be great for, is that you're going to have a place to practice these theories and putting them into application. There's no GRE required, so no scary test that you have to take a graduate level course. And then just so you know, we are regionally accredited by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, better known as NEASC. So let's see who's in the room with us right now. We're going to do a quick poll. So it's going to ask you for an option in education, healthcare, human resources, technology, or the famous other. So if you could just click off which industry you work in, so we can kind of have a sense of who's with us today. Okay, so it looks like we have a great deal of folks who are labeling themselves in education, some technology, and of course the infamous other in the room. And this is something that we deal with as presenters or teachers in classrooms, is that there are others in the room. We may know some of the folks in the room and their skill sets, but we may not. So we have to try to accommodate for everybody in our presentations and classrooms. And that's why it's really good to understand the underlying theory of how adults are learning. So speaking of that, I'll talk a little bit about the course and to try to set up the answer to this question of like, what exactly is adult learning theory? So in the very first week of the course, we're going to dig into what the term adult education even means. Some of the biggest influencers in the field are Malcolm Knowles, Sharon Merriam, and Laura Berama. And so we're going to heavily rely on their research as well as others in the field to guide us. But I'll start with Malcolm Knowles and how he describes adult education. It is the process of adults learning. It encompasses practically all experiences of mature men and women by which they acquire knowledge, understanding, skills, attitudes, interests, or values. And that's from his book, The Modern Practice of Adult Education. That's Malcolm Knowles. So the participants in this course are going to learn different theories of adult learning in order to deepen their understanding of how to teach adults. So the goal is to familiarize you with, you know, current practice as well as historical research. And then it's practical applications for use in settings such as workshops, classrooms, and within training and development. So who should take this course? So the application of this course would provide to be valuable for many professionals and individuals across fields. As we saw, we had some education people in here today, some technology folks, as well as some people who don't fit into one of those buckets nice and cleanly. So whether you're in a professional role that involves human resources, education, training, or development, many of us are just tasked with providing education or training for our adult colleagues, peer professionals, as well as informal classroom settings. So for example, K-12 educators, they may be in a coaching role, and this may be for math, literacy, what have you, and you're tasked with teaching other teachers best strategies for teaching material. If you're a community educator, you're taking this one, maybe a public health issue or some other issue into the community to talk with adults there. And if you're an adult education professional who works actually in a learning center, you're in a formal classroom setting and hitting objectives and goals for that audience. If you're a human resources professional, you're tasked with training and getting across policies in a way that makes sense to people and that they absorb that knowledge in an instructional role. So, health professionals also, they're often required to educate two audiences. So they may be in a role where they're the expert in a certain content area and they need to train other doctors, health professionals on the floor, or nurses. It could be anybody in the healthcare role. But then there's also the piece where they have to, or you all have to go out and spread this education to your patients. So if someone has a diagnosis for something, you need to explain to them how it is that they're going to deal with the diagnosis, what it is, what it means. You could give them a pamphlet, but that's probably not going to transfer the information the way that you want it to. So that's a little bit about who should be in here. And the great, really cool thing about this course, and I'll probably say this 1,000 times, is that it's an interdisciplinary course. So we get to learn from each other in best practices in our field and examples that come up and how we would use adult education and adult learning theory. And it's just a dynamic way for us to learn from each other in all these different kinds of contexts with the underlying thought that, it's the theories that will guide what we give to the learners. And to that end, so we're going to do another little poll. We want to be the best at what we are doing in these roles as educators. And I'm assuming that's why you're here. That's why you're interested in this course. But I'm sure there have been times, or there will be times in the future, where what you're trying to get across for information just doesn't connect, that you don't leave a lasting impression. People walk away going, what were they trying to say? Or, there's some sort of gap there. So how many people have tried to transfer knowledge to somebody, have tried to give something in this way, and they've been left with like, didn't work out so well? Right, see, 100%. It's really difficult because it sounds easy. So whether it's an explicit part of the job description or not, professionals are told, well, you know something, so I want you to tell somebody else about it. So it seems really simple, but as we just saw in the poll, it's not that easy. So somebody says to you, you need to go teach somebody about this. And you say, well, I know about this, so I'm going to tell you about this. And now you know about this, but something happens. It doesn't transfer that way. And people walk away without getting the message, without getting the information that they needed, that they came there for in the first place. So you're left with, well, why did this happen? Was it too complicated? Did I not break it down enough? Was it the way that I presented it? Or could it be that I didn't even start at the beginning of why is this relevant? Why would the people that I'm trying to give this information to, why would they even want to know this? So by understanding the theories of adult learning, you can put together training materials that actually do transfer this knowledge. We're going to explore how adults learn, how they assess their own learning, and then you can make a stronger connection with the learner. The key is to express to the learner why this is relevant to them, how they'll be able to use that base knowledge as a platform for their own growth, and how that they can then apply it to their own environment. Starting with the why is super important. So I'm gonna break this down a little bit into like an everyday workplace story. And I wrote a little blog about this, but I'm gonna go through it really quickly. So let's say that there's going to be a new technology that's being implemented at your workplace. I mean, and this is happening at a rapid pace, no matter what industry you're working in. And for some reason, it's clicked well with you. You've maybe been in the pilot group, what have you, or you've just been tasked to say, okay, now you're going to go teach your team how to use this technology. As the adult educator in this situation, you're going to want to start by explaining why this new technology will be used. So that conversation could go something like, well, you know, we have this old system, it doesn't work that well, you guys have been complaining about it for a little while. Listen, management heard you loud and clear, so we're going to be implementing a new technology. So right from the get-go, you've said to them, look, I know that you needed something, you requested something to happen because something wasn't working right, and now that's going to happen. So you're starting in with the why. Why are we going to do this? And then you want to collect feedback from the team. So you want to know what their concerns are going to be. Yeah, they might want to ditch that old technology because it's clunky, but you know, the old saying of like, well, at least you know what your problems are, and you know how to deal with those. There's still going to be some fear around it. There's still going to be like, how is this going to happen? What are we going to do? So you want to collect feedback from the people it's going to be impacting and find out like, you know, what's your fear about this? What are you afraid of losing from the old technology? What do you want to carry over to the next technology? And you're going to go through this process to incorporate the experience they already have. That's the old technology. And you're going to marry that with what they want to adopt for the new technology. So following this process, you want to give concrete examples of how this is going to impact them and affect them in their daily work. And you want them to be a part of that process. And then finally, you're going to facilitate opportunities for them to problem solve throughout the implementation of this new technology. So you've taken the skills they already have, you've taken the underlying knowledge they come with, and you're wrapping that all up for them in this process of transferring knowledge about the new technology. So that's just one example of how this can happen in your everyday work, but it can happen anywhere in the industries that are represented in this room today, as well as the others that were on the list, and just about anywhere somebody needs to tell somebody else about something. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the course. It's 100% online, so it's designed to teach students best skills and practices for educating peer professionals and making the best presentations for their workshops, classrooms, trainings, what have you. We want this information to stick. So let's talk about what you'll be doing in the course. The structure of this course, you'll have some discussions. There'll be curated readings that I've already set aside for you. And then there'll be this one major assignment that happens throughout the course. So each week, from weeks 3 to 7, there will be either a group or an individual, depending on how many folks we have in the class, and they will be responsible for presenting materials based on a theory that we're exploring in the class. And so you'll be providing a summary of the theory, and you'll be doing this through a Google slide presentation, because this is a way for you to practice presenting information in a safe environment where you're going to get some really structured feedback. You'll also produce a reference material for your peers to read. So you're going to find something beside the material that I've given you to kind of support this learning theory in another way. And then you're going to give an example of how it could be used in a workplace, classroom, or an environment that you're teaching in. And the really cool part about this is then you get to facilitate the discussion board for the week. You're going to create a question based on the theory that people want to learn more about. And then you're going to get to be the facilitator to go back and forth. And we're all going to chime in, we're all going to give our feedback, but it's going to give us a chance to work through some of these things. And you could say, well, I think this is what it means in my workplace. If I did this, if I presented this to students or my peers, would this make sense? And we just get to work through all of that together, again, in an environment where you can practice without it being so high stakes. So that's the big assignment. And throughout this whole thing, you'll be responsible for giving your peers feedback. And that's one of the best things that we can do in here, because learning how to collect that feedback and make your presentations better is something that we all want to do, whether we've been doing this for 15 years or we haven't even tried it yet. So hopefully by now you get an idea of what the course is, and you may be saying, okay, yes, this is something that I want to do. So the admissions requirements are pretty straightforward. We require a bachelor's degree because it's a graduate level course. We prefer to have 2 to 5 years of professional experience, but as I said, it's not necessarily something that you have to have. It just might give you some examples to draw from for the course. And then the cost of the course is $560 per credit. So it works out to about $1,790, and that includes the registration and technology fee. There's no application fee, so to fill out the form and talk with your enrollment person, there's no fee to do that. And don't forget that your company may offer tuition assistance, so you will want to check that out and look at your handbook or policies. And again, our student support, enrollment counselors will be there to help you if you have questions about maybe how that process would work. And the deadline for this course is June 4th, as far as signing up. So there's still plenty of time to do that, but again, these deadlines do sneak up on us, and it is getting to summertime. So I would encourage you to go ahead and talk to an enrollment counselor about the possibility of taking the course. So there, I've done all my talking. Yay, done with that. So now is a great time for us to go through any questions that you might have, concerns, anything like that that you may be curious about before dipping your toe in and taking the course. I'm going to open the floor up. Excellent. Okay, so I don't see that there are any questions in the chat. That doesn't mean that there aren't any questions. I just threw a bunch of information at you, but we are going to be sending out a link with this information. There's a phone number on your screen right now for you to contact or email. You can do phone or email with any questions that come up for you. And if you want to chat with me personally, just put that in your request. I want to talk to the instructor a little bit more about some of the things that she was saying. And we can definitely do that. I really appreciate all of you coming here today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.